Hello, my name is Aaron and I'm an entrepreneur. But what I'm more proud of is being a son, a husband, and a father to two beautiful little girls. I believe in the power of entrepreneurship and technology to change lives and transform communities in Malaysia and beyond. 20 years ago, I was like a lot of you in the audience. I was in college and I was about to take on the world. In my early 20s, I felt invincible, that I could do anything. And I would be wanting to try anything. And by and large, that's kind of what happened. I did different businesses, different opportunities, and it changed me for the better. There was a time I was in direct selling, going door to door, selling things to people. And I learned about building a team. I learned about the art of selling and how that helped me in different things I did in my life. There was a time I was actually organizing gigs for bands. And it ended up with me doing an album, doing recording, and learning how to do production and putting things together. There was also a time where I was in a retail business, where I learned about merchandising and the importance of customer service. These were all great experiences, and the learnings I had, they were invaluable. But in 2011, I was turning 31, and a pivot happened in my life. I learned I was going to be a father. And I said to myself, this was the time that I need to make things happen. This is the time that I have to really go out and do something special. And so that's when the opportunity struck. It was also the year I tried my first technologically driven business. I was asked to run a Malaysian operations of a daily deal site. And this business sold vouchers, we sold tickets, we sold things for people to engage goods and services. And the experience changed my life forever. I saw how you could build a digital business that could scale indefinitely from day one, how you could reach 1 million people through a virtual product. To quote an old Confucius quote that I like to remember every time I think about my journey, every man has two lives. The second one starts when he realizes he only has one. So in 2014, I started my own tech business. I was going to build a travel company that was going to help people travel and find things to do when you got to a destination. We sold tours, activities, theme parks. I had no idea what I was doing. We had no plan, we had very little money, and we were just willing to work hard and make things happen. I learned a lot of things along the way, and those lessons were invaluable. A few years later, I managed to sell the company to AirAsia, the world's best low-cost carrier, for 10 years. The company we founded years ago is now a significant part of the digital development of the group, and I remain close to the leadership. This has given me the opportunity to do many, many exciting things. Today, I spend my time helping entrepreneurs. I'm working with a group of people at Scale Up Malaysia, where we help entrepreneurs who have built businesses to grow and scale their business. I'm also working with would-be entrepreneurs, helping them come up with ideas, ideate them, helping them with the initial build of the product, and to help them go to market. We live in a very interesting time. The COVID-19 pandemic has waged war on the economy of every nation on the planet. We read daily news of well-established businesses going out of business, unable to make ends meet. Traditional businesses are struggling and employees are looking for new opportunities. I believe the way out of this crisis is through the digitization of businesses. It's through enhancing the digital delivery of products and services. The market is ripe for innovation. Technology is the way that we're going to move forward in this crisis. Truly, there's no better time than now to be an entrepreneur. For example, in March, when the farmers in Cameron Highlands were having concerns that they couldn't deliver their produce to the city centre, a startup called Golock had a cold chain logistics platform that allowed them to do this. They went to Cameron Highlands, they spoke to the farmers and the fishermen over in the coast, and they helped them find solutions for them to reach the community. This is an example of how a technology startup can help existing businesses by disrupting an existing supply chain. When tuition teachers had difficulty reaching out to their students, a startup called A1, who was already providing a back office solution for these tuition centers to talk to and communicate with the students and parents, came up with another solution, remote learning, allowing them to stream their teachers into their rooms through their computers and do the classes there. So students got educated, The tuition teachers had a way to make a living, and the tuition centers were a great platform to reach their students, parents, and the teachers. This is how technology helps an existing business grow and scale, even when regular businesses were suffering. Another great example was, and this is a more fun one, I guess, was a platform called Bib. What Bib does is it helps you run, and you can run remotely in the comfort of your home or in your neighborhood. And this was especially interesting during all these lockdowns when we couldn't really hang out with other people. Today, they run a service where people do virtual marathons where thousands of people join every month to run with each other from the comfort of their own homes or their neighborhoods. Imagine racing with a friend who lives in Australia or in Europe or in the US, right here from Malaysia. That's kind of fun, but that's what digital disruption can do to any industry. There are literally hundreds of stories like this, where technology has helped existing businesses transform and reach their customers. This is the moment for you as a would-be entrepreneur to look at how you can use technology to disrupt businesses, just like these companies have done. What would have been crippling because of the pandemic has become enabling because these companies can now reach more markets and more customers. This is the opportunity that you have before right now. And together, let's talk about how young people can get involved with technology and build the future. Young people will play a pivotal role in the new economy. You bring fresh eyes to old problems and you see things incumbents in any industry won't. Young people also hold the keys to unlock innovation. You aren't afraid to ask the right questions. Questions like, why does it have to be this way? How can we make things better? Why can't we make it better now? Young people have a distinct advantage over your older colleagues and counterparts. For one thing, you have a more aggressive risk appetite. You don't have a lot of obligations to be concerned with, and you're in a position to make bold moves. You can afford to try new things out. Youth also holds inexperience, which to me is an advantage in trying to innovate. You're not beholden to how things have always been, but you're free to be creative, innovative, to break norms and try new things. You're willing to challenge the status quo and to do something about it. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are challenges that young people will face when you want to start a business. First and foremost, the biggest challenge that young people face is a lack of awareness of the potential of entrepreneurship. Most of you will probably say, no, what I'll do first is I'll get a job so I can get some experience. And for many of you, maybe you should. But for those of you who are willing to take the plunge in this journey, it is one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do. Another challenge is how most educational and training programs do not do enough to nurture entrepreneurial attitudes. I think it's much better now than when I was growing up. This TED Talk is an example of this. But still, the vast majority of students would not think of starting a business at a very young age. To state the obvious, most young people have no real-world experience. And this may perhaps be a plus in innovation, but it's a challenge when you're trying to execute and trying to develop your business. Young people also have limited resources and access to financial support. Most would not have built up a reputation or any name in the market, so it'll be difficult for you to raise money from anybody that doesn't share your last name. But that's okay. The other thing that you lack is business networks, people who can help you to connect you to partners or different opportunities. And this may prove to be a hindrance to anybody who's looking to start a business. It's understandable how many young entrepreneurs feel like it's hard to start something from nothing. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. There are so many examples of successful founders who started their journey in their teens. And I'm not going to avoid talking about people that you guys know, like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Sergey Brin and Larry Page. All these guys started their business in their basement in their early 20s or late teens. I'll share with you a couple more examples of people who are young, just like you, who started businesses that changed their world. We'll start with a founder called Melanie Perkins. She's the founder and CEO of a platform called Canva, an online design and publishing tool that makes graphic design simple for everyone. The journey actually began in 2007 when she was a university student. Currently, Perkins is the youngest female CEO leading a tech startup worth over $1 billion. There's another great young founder who started his business when he was much, much younger as well. His name is Blake Ross. You may not have heard of him, but you know his work. He built a platform called Mozilla Firefox. It's one of the most used browsers today. And here's the kicker. He started this platform when he was 19. And finally, I think this last example is really important because you don't always have to build a new technology or a new app or a new solution. Sometimes you can leverage existing platforms. And maybe I'm going to get a little bit of flack for mentioning this guy, but you know what? It's going to be fun. The last example I'm going to give is Justin Bieber. Yes, that Justin Bieber, the baby guy. He built his entire network based on his success on YouTube. That's how he was discovered by famous artists. That's how he got a platform. And now he's a multi-award winning artist with millions of fans. It's amazing how this new era of technology has allowed people to be successful from their bedroom. At last count, Justin Bieber's net worth was 200 million. But I want you to think, how many products do you use today? How many things that you use right now were founded by people who are in their late teens and early 20s? There are a lot. Just check out the slide behind me. All these platforms were built, and we all use it today, by young people. Why wouldn't you start a business today? And so here's how you do it. As a young person, you've got certain attributes that are advantages. There are also some things that could be a concern. But there's so much opportunity that I believe everyone in this room who wants to can become successful. So here's how. I'm going to share it in very abstract terms. It's not going to be a technical explanation. It's not going to be a how-to. But these are principles that have worked for me over the years. I think they'll work for you. The first thing is dream big. Have a big, all-encompassing vision. And I know this sounds very, very cliche and maybe a little bit lame, but it's nonetheless not untrue. There's a quote that I remember when I was young. When I was about in my early 20s, I just come back and I met this random dude in the gym one day, and he gave me a book that he wrote. I don't know who read this book, and I don't know if the book itself was any very popular, but there was a quote in the book that struck me. It said, "What one thing would you dare do if you knew you could not fail?" And it struck me till this day, and I've led it into every single venture I've ever done. The next thing is you got to commit yourself to constant learning. This is very much a process of continuous improvement where you will learn and improve and you'll try new things. And you got to commit the time. Spend time reading, listening to podcasts, watching content that will enrich and inspire you. The next thing is to expect failure. It's going to happen. You aren't going to achieve everything you set out to do. There'll be moments of disappointments and moments of sheer agony. Your success will be determined by how many times you get up by each failure. And that's a mark of a true entrepreneur. It's not somebody who's hit home runs every time or somebody who got it right every single venture. But it's every time you get up, you try again, you try to get better. That's the mark of a true entrepreneur. To that end, as you learn and as you grow, as you fail and as you try again, focus on progress, not perfection. Sometimes we obsess over getting things right every time. And that's an unfair expectation that you have on yourself. So keep focusing on getting one step ahead of the other, one foot ahead of another, one step at a time. That is what's going to help you get through all the difficulties you may face through your journey. And to that point, make sure you have good coaches in your life, because that helps you center you, it helps you think through problems you may have, and it helps you grow, because ultimately they've been there and they've done that. They've been through other circumstances that could inspire you and instruct you. As an entrepreneur, make sure you surround yourself with good people. Because ultimately, we are the sum total of the people that we spend time with. Get ready to work hard and to hustle. There's no substitute for hard work. Yes, I agree. Work smart. Yes, optimize everything you want to do. As a young man growing up, I used to see my father work long hours. And it instilled in me this value that there's no substitute for hard work. There's something about getting up early in the morning and coming back as late as you need to be because you're pursuing your goals and your dreams. And finally, the last thing that you need to remember is that you need to embrace the process and look at it from a vantage where you're not just doing this for results, but it's about the person that you become in the process. It's about the learnings you make, the friends you meet, the people you engage with. That's what this is all about. And along the way, you may make some money, you may have some fame, but ultimately, the most valuable thing is the growth that you have as an individual and your ability to help the people around you and impact the lives around you. As I close, I'm reminded of a quote from one of my favorite authors, a man called Neil Gaiman. He's written a whole bunch of stuff, mostly graphic novels, to be honest. And he writes, "You get what anyone gets. You get a lifetime." And this reminds me constantly not to waste my life and the time that I have. It helps me focus on things that matter and the life I want to build for myself and my family. This is the moment for big, bold ideas. It's a moment where young people like yourself and maybe the not so young people who are watching this to rise up and to take charge of how society is advancing. Throughout this entire crisis and over the last few months, many people have talked about how things have degraded, how life is difficult. There are lots of complaints about how things are terrible and not the way we want it to be. So this is a moment for entrepreneurs, people who want to wake up and say, I'm going to make a difference and I'm going to change the way things are. I believe the people who are going to change it and change the future is you. So let's work together, let's roll up our sleeves, and let's build the future.